Hello everybody, I'm Bear Skills. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Century Age of Ashes. So we're back again for another video, and this one I want to talk about Spoils of War. Everything you guys are going to need to know. There's a lot of new mechanics, a lot of new features with Spoils of War, and it is the new game mode. So a lot of people are, going to want to play it. So I figured I'd do a video to kind of explain what it's all about, some interesting things you guys might want to know, and maybe a few tips and strategies that may help you out in your games. So starting out, what is Spoils of War? So Spoils of War is a 6v6 game mode wherein two teams compete to see who has the most gold in their vaults by the end of the match. So essentially, when you start the match, you'll start at your base, which is where you will deposit your gold. And in order to get gold, you need to take down gold carriers that spawn on the map. Now, gold carriers, it should be showing on screen right now, are four-legged dragons that glow a goldish type color, and they fly around the map in set paths, and you can take them down. Each one is worth 100 gold. Now, I will say that there are exceptions to that. There are a higher version of those, greater carriers. This should be showing on screen right now. They're more of a orange red color, and essentially they have more HP, they drop more gold, so they're just a bigger, stronger version of the regular gold carrier. So take those down, get the gold, take it back to your base. Now you can lose gold. If an enemy player attacks you, they will make you drop your gold. So the more damage they deal to you, the more gold you're going to drop until you're at 0. In case you're interested in knowing, at the bottom left, if you look just above your health bar, you can see how much gold you have in your inventory at any one time. As far as I've been able to test or see, you can have as much gold in your inventory as you want, but keep in mind, once you hit a higher amount, usually over 200, the enemy team will get a notification that you are carrying a large amount of gold and that they should hunt you down. So keep that in mind. It's kind of a risk reward factor. Do you go for more gold at a time, or do you take smaller amounts and stash that more often? So kind of up to you and what your team's doing. So strategy for that may vary. Now there are a few different unique items that spawn on the map. Starting off, we have the key. So this should be showing on screen right now. The key spawns on the map, and whichever team holds that has their vault unlocked. While the key is in the map or in play, both teams' vaults will be locked. And in order to have yours unlocked, you will have to have one of your teammates or yourself pick up the key and hold it. This lasts for a certain amount of time. If you look at the symbol for the key, there is a green meter in the middle of that that slowly depletes. When that is depleted, the key will despawn and will no longer be in play, and both vaults will be unlocked again. So when you have the key, keep in mind that if players do enough damage to you, you will drop the key. So when the key is in your possession, the name of the game is keep away. You got to hold the key as long as possible and try not to take damage. So use wind tunnels, use rifts to maintain your stamina. If you can, before grabbing it or while grabbing it, pick up the infinite stamina boosts on the map. They're really nice. Now, if you see a teammate carrying one of those, depending on what class you are, if you're Wind Guard, you might want to use Salvation Surge on them to give them some health and shield. If you're Marauder, because you have some more health and you have the option to take Gust, if you have Gust, you might want to fly behind them. So when people are shooting fireballs, they will target you, and you can use Gust to deplete some of those, and your extra health will allow you to tank some. So that's the key. The next item that can spawn on the map is going to be the Jewel. Now the Jewel spawns at essentially the very top tower. It should be showing on screen me flying towards it to show you guys what it looks like. And it's very similar to the key. Once you pick that up, if people do enough damage to you, you will drop that. So same with the key. The name of the game is keep away. Now the Jewel, when it spawns, you have to hold it at the very end of the match. So even if a team drops it and the enemy team picks it up at the last second, the Jewel will account for them. And what the Jewel does is it gives the team holding it at the end of the match 300 extra gold pieces in their vault. So it can be a nice boost to help you win the game. Keep in mind, the jewel is not the end-all be-all. I have lost games even though my team has had the jewel in their possession, so keep in mind, it's only 300 gold pieces. So don't have your whole team focusing on the jewel. Make sure that one or two people are on the jewel. Don't have your whole team on it. Now, when it comes to the jewel, I would recommend that you have either a Marauder with the Gust ability or a Wind Guard go for the jewel. Same with the key, and the next thing we'll talk about. The reason for this is the Marauder has extra HP, so even if you're lower on HP, you can still tank a little bit better than the other ones. Granted, you will drop the item when you take enough damage, but you should have a little bit more health in order to pick it up again. With a Gust on the Marauder, you can just completely deplete any fireballs currently targeting you, and you can also become undetectable or untargetable for just a short amount of time, just a few seconds. But it can save you if you're, just a few feet from getting to a wind tunnel. You can activate Gust if you're being targeted, and just be able to get into a wind tunnel and buy yourself a few extra seconds, which can be the key of winning a match. Now, Wind Guard has their smoke ability, and their smoke ability, while they're in the smoke, enemies cannot target them. So really nice for the Wind Guard as well. The Phantom doesn't really have anything. The only thing they have is their invisibility, but all class-specific abilities. So for the Phantom, the invisibility. For the Marauder, it is their Hunter's Mark tracking fireball. And for the Wind Guard, Salvation Surge. Those are all disabled when holding an item. So the reason Marauder and Wind Guard work so good is their secondary ability isn't locked, and that's the ones for Wind Guard and Marauder that allow them to nullify damage. So it's really important. Like I said, Wind Guard and Marauder are going to be your best choices. If a Phantom is the only thing available, you're going to have to make do. But if you're going in for a strategy, going in with some teammates, you might want to consider having the Wind Guard or Marauder on your team actually taking the items. So the next thing we're going to cover is the Wall Breaker, or the Wall Breacher, I think it's called. Essentially, it's a big bomb, and it should be on screen now for you guys to see. And what this is, it's kind of like the Jewel. What you need to do is you need to pick it up. Like all the other items, if you take enough damage, you will drop it. But you need to take this and take it to the enemy team's vault. If you do so, it will blow up their vault, and making a large portion of their gold available for you and your teammates to pick up around the outside of the vault, and then you can take that back to your base. The Wall Breaker is one of the biggest game-changing items, because it can mean if you get it last second, you can immediately win a game because of it, depending on the scoreboards, obviously. None of these items will immediately guarantee the game, but they are huge helps. So that should cover those. I should cover most of the items. So yeah, essentially, the next thing that I want to talk about is kind of the strategy for each class when you're playing Spoils of War. So if you're a fan of the Marauder, I would highly recommend that you focus a lot of your time going after the gold carriers. As the Marauder, all of your abilities recharge upon an elimination or an assist, and this passive ability that the Marauder has does apply when attacking and finishing off the gold carriers. So every time you take one down or you get an assist on one, your abilities will be refreshed, which means that you can very quickly take down the gold carriers as Marauder faster than pretty much any other class, because you can use the Hunter's Mark ability. And because the gold carriers fly really slow and generally in straight lines, you can completely demolish one and then have your Hunter's Mark ability ready for either the next one or for an enemy player. So the Marauder is really good against the gold carriers. So when I play Marauder, which is the class I do favor, generally I spend a lot of time focusing down the gold carriers. Now, granted, if you have the opportunity, make sure you're helping your teammates out, maybe flying behind somebody carrying something to tank for them. And if you see somebody on the enemy team with a lot of gold in their inventory, don't be afraid to go after them to make sure that they don't get that gold back to their base. But the main focus of the Marauder in Spoils of War is gold carriers. Now moving on to the Wind Guard. The Wind Guard's main focus is to support your teammates. Now, that is on all game modes, but in Spoils of War, it's really important. Spoils of War, when I play Wind Guard, I like to focus helping my teammates. Now, I spread my stuff out with Wind Guard. I take a little bit of gold from the gold carriers. If I see an enemy that's, got a lot of gold, I'll try to help deny that. But with Wind Guard, it's really key to help out your teammates that are carrying a lot of gold. If you see a lot of Marauders on your team getting gold from gold carriers and you see that enemies are targeting them, use your Salvation Surge, get over there, help them out. It's really important, especially if you can give your teammates the Berserk, which you will get if you take enough damage with Wind Guard. Your passive ability will activate, and then your Salvation Surge will turn your next ally into a Berserker Rage. So keep that in mind. Wind Guard, it's all about helping your teammates, going around. Maybe if your teammates are getting attacked a lot, sticking with them and collecting the gold they do drop. So that way the enemies don't get it. That sort of thing. Very supportive role, but very important. A lot of Wind Guards have won games for me. And as I mentioned previously, when it comes to the items such as the jewel or the key, the Wind Guard is incredibly good at holding those because of their smoke ability. They can fly through their smoke, especially if you smoke key areas such as around wind tunnels. You can hang around those wind tunnels, and it's very hard for the enemy team to actually get to you to take away those items. Moving on to the Phantom. The Phantom, with its passive ability of doing extra damage to shields and the ability to go invisible, it's really key to hunt down enemy players. In my opinion, a Phantom's job in Spoils of War, if they get the opportunity, gold carriers, helping their teammates, obviously, but their main focus is enemy players. So if you see somebody with a lot of gold, go after them, take them down, or deplete them of their gold and take that gold back. Going after gold carriers is also a great option with Phantom because you can go invisible. If you're carrying a lot of gold, you can go invisible and then just simply fly back to your base during that duration. And it can be really helpful because then you can't be targeted. So enemies are going to have a hard time actually coming after you. So that covers most of the classes, or, well, it covers all the classes, but that should cover pretty much everything about Spoils of War. Trying to think if there's anything else for you guys to know about. One thing I would mention is that Spoils of War is very team-oriented, especially considering the other game modes. So I would recommend, if you can, always be on comms with your teammates and be squatted up, because you will have a way better time doing that because it's very strategy oriented. I've seen some people that haven't seemed to have been enjoying themselves with Spoils of War, and I think that comes down to playing it solo and not communicating with your team, which is fine. Most of the time when I play, I do play solo myself, but I would recommend, if you can, get in a squad, play with some other people, get some strategies down, because it's very team oriented. I've had teammates literally win the game for me. I've had teammates that are super good at flying. They grab an item, they hold it to the end, say the jewel, for example, and they've won the game for me and for my other teammates. So it's very team oriented. And as always, be supportive of your teammates. Everybody's trying. Everybody's trying to have a good time. We should all try to enjoy this great game. So, once again, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're watching this point in the video, I do want to commend you for sticking with me. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you've subscribed. If you did like the video and it was helpful at all, make sure to give it a like. And hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one.